Hello. Yeah, in this video, I want to experiment with the R package Biclust for biclustering analysis. So we have tested the cluster analysis for clustering the observations and clustering the variables. Okay. But biclustering is very interesting because it simultaneously cluster data based on both observations and the variables. Okay, so I would think it is really useful when you have a large data set and heterogeneous population so that some observations may cluster well with some variables, so it's not uniform. And it sounds very interesting because this may be very useful for us to see patterns and in a large sample with a lot of variables and large sample size, and then we can identify a lot of subgroups. Okay. So the first, let me load the library Biclust, set random seed. Just use a simulated data set. The data matrix will look like that. And then we introduce biclusters, regions with higher or lower means. Define two biclusters. One is for rows 10 to 30 and column 5 to 15. Okay. So we add +5 on the original raw data. And cluster 2 is with -4 for rows 50 to 70 and columns 30 to 40. And we can visualize this data set as a heat map. And you can see there are two squares over there. So this is showing this heat map is really useful for us to see some subgroups in which some observations cluster well using some variables. Okay. All right. To perform biclustering on the data set, we can use the Biclust and data matrix, and the method equal to BC BI max, minimum row equal to 5, minimum column equal to 3. Later on, we'll get into the methods. So the BC BI max is actually for binary data, but let's just use it anyway, just for demonstration purposes. Okay, I'm not going to try this one using the BC plate method. Okay, so once we did the biclustering and printed out, it tells us there's 100 clusters found, and the first 5 clusters sizes, it's about 27 rows, 3 columns for the first bicluster, and 13 rows and 3 columns for the second bicluster, etc. Okay, but there's 100 of them. Okay, and then we can visualize these, and by install and load the Biclust and then the BI beta R, and then we use the heat map BC function, and it looked like that. Okay. So you can see it actually identified a couple of clusters with, darkened colors or lighter colors compared to the other parts of the heat map. So it sees a few clusters, and there's some very small ones. So there's 100 of them. Actually, that's an artifact I'll get to later. And then we can actually print the output number of biclusters found. Here is 100. And we can loop through each bicluster and extract rows and numbers. It'll look like that. Okay, give you 100. And if you really want to look into cluster 98, you can actually just print that cluster out. Okay. All right. After this demo, I tried to use biclustering on the gene expression data, the golub cancer gene expression data, load it in, and let me try that. Okay, it's a data matrix. And then I just used the Biclust using the method BCBImax, and I printed it out. And also it tells me there's 100 clusters. Okay. Then I was like, well, that doesn't sound very, not that sounds right. So I double checked. Actually, this is an issue with the method BCBImax. It often gives you 100 clusters, and the way to try to get around it is you can change the value of minimum rows, minimum columns, or there's another option, maximum number of clusters, things like that you can experiment with. But this is really the BCBImax method is really for binary data. So that's why I just go to the help file and look at the help file, and you can see there's a method, and it says this method, you can actually look for details about the biclust method. Okay. And it has the BCCC, BCX motifs, BC plate, BC spectral, BC BImax, which we used, and BC quest. Okay. So I dig a little bit more. They are all different methods for different scenarios. The BC BImax for binary data, it finds exact submatrices. And the BC plate is good for gene expression, overlapping biclusters, and assumes additive layers. So I think the biclustering method was originated from gene expression studies, but there are applications in non-genomic data also. Okay. And there are review articles, and it's quite a complicated method. Okay, so here we're just doing a little experiment with this golub data set and the R-packed biclust. Okay, and back to the methods. BC spectral is for continuous data using the SVD, the singular value decomposition, and eigenvalues. And the BCX motifs is good for time series, identifies patterns in the data. Okay, and the BCC, the BC co-cluster, BCCC, is good for text categorical data information theoretical approach. So we really don't have time to get into the details about each and every of this method in terms of the mathematics behind all these methods, theory behind them. But what I did is just I tried them all and just see what's going on. I actually run this method beforehand because some of this method took a long time, so I don't want to keep you waiting. So let me just print out the method 2, and it says no cluster found. Result 3, it found 29 clusters, and result 4, no cluster found. Result 5, no cluster found. And result 6, no cluster found. So for 6 methods, the BCBI max give us up to 100 clusters, which may not be very useful. And the BCCC option, which is not really suitable for gene expression data, but give us 29 clusters. Okay, and the other methods did not give us any cluster. Okay, so what I did is say let's just print out the heat map. Let's see. Oh, okay, here. So this doesn't help much. There's 29 clusters, but they don't really look very visible. So I assigned it to result, and I loaded the ggplot2, and I print out all the heat map for all the clusters. So there are 29 bicluster, and this is the 2029, the last one. And I try to use the par MF row equal to C56 to create 30 small panels to put this bicluster heat map on one panel. However, I found out that par MF row option does not work with ggplot2. So I did not put them, I wasn't able to put them on one panel. But I looked through all these clusters. They are very small like this one. You got 3 observations and then about 8 genes. If you close this one, you can see this is 28 by cluster. You got 2 patients and then 3 genes. They're all like really small gene by clusters from this method. And these are 2 patients, 2 genes. So I'm not sure this makes any biological sense. Okay. And I apologize, this is not a very successful application, but just give you some feelings about what are in there in this R package Biclust. Yeah, I think there should be data sets for which the Biclust method really work well. And hopefully you can find some successful applications. Well, from this video, you can get a little bit head start in using Biclust. Thanks for watching.